Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, Donspektor here, probably with my last review of the year, or maybe we're still in tip review after that. Let's see how much time I have. And today for you I have the 7Hz Elua in cooperation with our good friends at Bad Guy Audio here. Yes, this is a dual dynamic driver headphone for I think like 30-ish bucks or something like that. And that is a pretty compelling price point for two dynamic drivers. And yeah, in this review we figure out what this thing can or can't do. As usual, quick packaging accessories. That's the packaging, classic budget IEM, and also this classic budget IEM, you just remove it like this. The IEM would obviously be inside here. And again, you get the classic 7Hz random ass silicon tips here. And that's basically it, like no other accessories, no carrying case, no foam tips or anything. For the price, I guess it's okay. Yeah, some foam tips or anything would have been nice, but it's fine, not much to complain here. Next, we go to IEM Build, and here I have the bad boy. So that's the IEM, and as you can see, this goes for the very transparent look, so really can see everything inside here. And I do like this look generally. And also other than that, it seems to be built relatively well. The seam around here, you can see it here, but you can barely feel it with your fingernail. It's very even, very well made, I would say. And also the 2-pin connector here is slightly angled outwards. Wait, it's like this is the right side. So yeah, slightly angled outwards, which is really nice. We talk about that in comfort. And it also seems to be glued in well enough. And then there's a small dot here indicating that's the right side. And then there's a pressure hole here at this place, and there's a pressure hole here. Faceplate also seems to be integrated well, nothing to complain here. It seems like it's glued in nicely, and I don't think it will fall out. And then last but not least, the nozzle here. Yep, you can see this is a relatively dense metal plate on the front here, and beneath that another dense filter. And I did not have condensation issue with this one, probably because it's not a metal IEM. And yeah, overall I would say it feels well made for the price. Next, we talk about the cable, and here is the cable. And as you can see, this is similar to most other budget IEMs. Most noticeable here, for instance, the 02 that comes with a very similar cable minus the 90-degree connector here. And yeah, that also brings me then to the connector. This has a strain release, but it's very hard and definitely doesn't release strain well. But 90-degree connectors can be nice for some, others don't like it. I don't particularly mind it. And then we have the 2 cores here that go up just like that. They're not the thickest, but because this is like tucked together like this, as you can see, it tends to be relatively smooth in day-to-day usage, and it doesn't really get tangly at all. The top cables here are exactly the same thickness, and the chin slider is the only really point of criticism I feel. Really, it doesn't have no friction whatsoever, like really doesn't work at all. Oh, and maybe quickly the splitter. That also is like style matched with the other stuff, and it also says Elua here on the back. And then, last but not least, let's come to the top of the cable here. The rubberization here is, as you can see, more on the fixed side of things. And that means it's pretty springy and it can apply some pressure on your ears. But I didn't have problems with this. Also because the angle here is like, to give or take to 40 degrees or something like that. Together with this 45-degree angled connector, absolutely worked fine in terms of comfort for me. However, the R indicator here is really difficult to read as the L indicator, and a colored coded dot would also be nice here. Overall though, for the price, like, it's absolutely fine. There's nothing to criticize here. Next, comfort and fit. Yep, I think I can make this short. The Elua fits me relatively well. It is on the smaller side of things. As you will probably be able to see the measurements on the background, and I absolutely take this at any day over the week or over the 02, which I just threw in here for comparison. Yeah, definitely the more comfortable IEM here in everything that I can think of. And yeah, because the nozzle isn't that thick and it's not that long and the IEM is relatively small, I don't think people will have problems with this. However, I do still like the Nuo more than this. The Nuo just is a bit more semi-custom, it just fits a bit better. But yeah, this is absolutely fine fitting IEM. And next we talk about isolation. Yeah, this is to no one's surprise, it is still relatively thin plastic used here. Although I would argue it's a bit thicker than the 02 here, or at least in similar realms, because this tends to isolate similarly, possibly a tiny bit better, and yeah, so it's like average, like maybe a tiny bit above average. So meaning in day-to-day life, if you're not outside in the main city center, you will be fine. However, if you're in the main city center, even with foam tips, it could be a bit better. Drivability as the next chapter here, and this is rated with 107 decibels per watt at 1 kilohertz, and it means it's pretty efficient on paper. And I have to confess, I really tried my best to make this sound good, in quotes, and that means I put it on basically all amplifiers minus the CVG VVT1, because it doesn't need more bass. It has already plenty of bass here. But yeah, meaning the Apple dongle gave me like 80% of what this is capable of. I would say BTR5 with its 240 milliwatts, like 90%. And honestly, when going to my desktop setup here, it gave me the whole 100%. I had a feeling the desktop setup gave me the best bass, the tightest controlled bass. But it's still not sounding great. And sorry, I can't tell you if you need like 300 milliwatts or 500 to make this sound its maximum. My topping A53 that I use in desktop here has like 3 or 2 watts, something like that. So it's a lot, and I can't tell you how much you will need with this one to make it sound as good. But yeah, having something like the BTR5 or something a bit more powerful definitely will get you a bit more here. And next, general sound characteristics. This can be best described as V-shape, U-shape, depending on your definition. And then we tackle directly Upper-Treble. And as you can see here, there's a huge peak at like 13K. Reminds me of a few other IEMs that had a similar peak. The Kanta that I also got recently, similar peak here. This has an absolutely similar peak, also the Elua here. But similar to the Kanta, I have to say, it's not as strongly pronounced to my ear as it measures. Absolutely, it does exist to my ear, and it is also roughly at 13K, maybe 12K, and that means it definitively does sound a bit artificial. There's some unnatural thing there, just the timbre is overall off. And yeah, that combined with the 8.5K peak that is also rather strong. That peak will resolves to my ear more at like 9K. But again, let me stress, this is to my ear. If you will use this, the 8.5K peak has a high danger of being shifted to 8K, and that will make it very sibilant. For me personally, it got more shifted to 9K, so it wasn't an issue for me. And then further down, I mean, like it's weird, right? You can see it here, it's really weird. There's a huge dip at like 4.5K, and I think this is audible to me, combined with the weird semi-plateau at like 5.5K, and then the spike at 3.5K. It just sounds really odd. Like the entirety of the treble sounds odd and off in any and every track I tried. Synthwave, fusion jazz, metal, new metal, just movie soundtracks, orchestral, everything sounds off with this. And granted, it's not as horrible as the graph might make it, but it's really not good, and it can be really unpleasant because it has this weird characteristic of sounding compressed and dark and very bright and unnatural at the same time. It's super weird sounding. And yeah, that unfortunately translates to the mids. They are not the most like bleeded through from the bass, as you can see by graph. And they are not like really recessed. They're warm, but they just sound off. Like Chester from Linkin Park just sounds off to me. And I guess there will be people who like the mids to bass representation here, because you have some warmth, but you still have a bass share after that, and I guess this can be enjoyable, but combined with the really lack of upper mid / lower treble, I think easiest visible if we throw together on with the Nuo. And I'm sorry, like there's no way I can get these measurements aligned in a way that makes sense. Like it doesn't matter if I align them at 1K or at 800 Hz or 500 Hz, it will always look off because of the weird recession at like 1.5K that the Elua has. It will always look off. So here I think I choose 800 Hz or something like that, but 1K would look basically the same. Like you can see really 1.5K is recessed, and that is super audible and not nice. And then bass. And yeah, I guess if HBB wanted to achieve a bass that sounds really full and rounded while not being the most bleeding, this he had managed. It has about a 12 decibel bass shell from what I measure here, starting at like 300 Hz, with of course some warmth above that, and then going to 20 Hz. And yeah, this sounds full and very round and generally well audible. Unfortunately, it's not the fastest, it's not really technical, and I think the Nuo as well as the 02 easily beat the shit out of this in terms of bass quality. Not to say that, yeah, because you have warmth in the mids, it also doesn't sound the most separated. And even sub-bass, while measuring pretty well, yeah, it's not the most sub-bass strong. It's pretty average in my benchmark track, Mountains from Interstellar, with the bass note starting at like 2 minutes 10, all the way to 2 minutes 15, where it rolls from like 60 Hz to 20 Hz. Yeah, I can hear it until 2 minutes 14, 2 minutes 14 and a half. That's pretty average, so not great, but also not bad. And then you come to the rest of the technicalities, and I mean, I'm sorry, like, what should I say here? The Elua suffers from its frequency response really badly, and that means soundstage layering and imaging, not good. Imaging though is okay-ish, but I really wouldn't game with this at all. It just doesn't work as well as the Nuo or the 02 did. And yeah, layering is mostly free prop, so also nothing special here. The soundstage feels off, like if it's crammed, a bit small. Yeah, not good at all. And similar thing goes for separation dynamics and coherence. I mean, yeah, this doesn't separate well at all, probably again due to its frequency response. And the dynamics also come off as a bit compressed, as not good at all. Like really for a dynamic IEM, doesn't sound dynamic to me. And again, the 02 or the Nuo here, they just do better in these aspects, better by a good margin. And they also do better in terms of coherence. This thing does sound really incoherent to me. Again, the treble tonality probably being the culprit here. It just sounds off in every way. And that brings me to the verdict here. I mean, yeah, I really have no clue what HBB thought this is going to be. This is really his worst collab, period. There's nothing redeeming about this. There's no reason why I would say buy the Elua or anything else. I mean, if you like warmth in the mids and bass, maybe, but honestly, just get the 02 or get the Nuo, just add a bit more bass to it. Like, you'll be way better off than fixing this with EQ. And yes, you can probably get the 1.5K up by like 5 or 6 decibel, so it does sound okay. But why would you? There's just better options for the same money out there, and I just don't see a reason why this exists. And I'm not sure if I should ask HBB personally, what was the thinking? What is this supposed to be? It's just not good. And contrary, you can say it's bad. And yeah, that's why I would stay away from the Elua. It's really not good, and get anything else at this price point or similar price point. It's just more worth it than this one. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions, recommendations, or criticisms, please leave a comment. Donspektor out.